Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Pabst, and I'm at the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. And it is truly my pleasure to welcome you to the Solidarity House this afternoon. Solidarity House is both a space and a practice, creating meaningful alignment where imagination meets infrastructure and solidarity becomes strategy. This gathering is designed to strengthen our collective capacity to imagine and build the future of independent storytelling and co-design pathways toward a more sustainable and equitable creative future that centers repair, liberty, and sovereignty. Live captioning for this session is available through Coda, a web-based tool accessible on your device. It does not require a login or an account, and our unique links are available on the QR codes posted around the space. So please take advantage of that. It's also on the website at thesolidaryhouse.com/schedule. All right. We are going to be getting into our next activation called Practicing Possibility, Artist Orgs as Case Studies. And we're grateful to have the following folks joining us: Iyabo Boyd, founder, co-executive director, Brown Girls Doc Mafia, and Elijah McKinnon, executive diva and co-founder of Open Television OTV. Well, so I was very inspired by the title of this panel, Practicing Possibility, because these two are artists who took on the work of creating and co-creating the organization that they needed because it didn't exist. And so not only are you practicing possibility, possibility is your practice. So it is also the case that so for the purposes of this conversation, we are going to assume that time is real. We know it's a construct. But OTV and BGDM are both celebrating 10 years. Can you please take us back in time to the year 2015 and tell us about what inspired the genesis of OTV and Brown Girls Doc Mafia? What was happening in the field at the time, and how were the creation of your organizations a response? And what was going through your mind as you were making this leap?
Check, check. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Lauren, for doing this with us. Shout out Solidarity House. We love you guys. I was really lonely, to be honest. In Color Congress, we talk about how there's this like constellation of organizations that came before us. BIPOC organizations have been working for many, many years, some decades before us, and I didn't know really about any of them, to be frank, besides Firelight. And because I wasn't a filmmaker making docs at the time, I wasn't in the Firelight, like under their wing. So I was working as an executive in a white majority organization, and I was just really isolated and feeling gaslit like every single day. And feeling really distraught that like every time we had a funding round, we'd pick 10 people to give funding to, and there'd always be the wonderful token, women of color that we would support. And then number 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 were always other women of color, right? But they were never in the top 10 besides that one. And I was just feeling really effing pissed off, and really confused and frustrated. So yeah, it was like tokenism was the moment, the word of the moment that time, tokenism. And yeah, I didn't know there was this other part of the galaxy that I could have been a part of. So I'm so grateful to know about it and to have contributed to it. And sorry, I already had a power cry right before this, but I think it might come back. We're gonna get through it.
We're gonna get through this together, together and through.
You go.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't know that. I'm learning so much, and we're gonna circle back. We've recently built a really beautiful relationship. Iyabo, Nivi, your team. I'm so grateful to be in this work with you all. And hello, everyone. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Okay, great. I'm going to feed off your energy. I know that we've been through it and the Sundance of it all, and we're here at the Solidarity House. Shout out to all of the beautiful coalition members that have brought this space together. I want to also just take a moment to shout out my beautiful board that is in the house, as well as my team here who really just get my wig together in so many different ways. I cannot do this work without them. Okay, the year is 2015. I was the tender and ripe age of 22. So do that. I think, similar to you, I was feeling isolation because I wasn't really working in the art space. I was actually a consultant at the time. I was working on like high profile campaigns, and I was spending a lot of time cultivating spaces for big tech to make more money. And I learned really horrible like tactics and wanted to figure out how to take those tactics and actually bring them into the communities that like I love. And so when I think about those tactics, I come back to one of my superpowers, which is like getting people to look at things, right? It's just like slowing down time long enough for people to just pay attention and hold on and anchor and sink into something that is meaningful and real. And I was doing that for, the Ubers and the Airbnbs of the world. And I was like, this is just horrible and doesn't mean anything to me. And as an artist, I was feeling like, how can I use storytelling as a way to connect with the multiple identities that I held, as well as build bridges to others? And so when I met my co-founder, Amar Jean Christian, which we just wrote a book about this experience. And I think it's here, actually. There are a few copies here. Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think some of the board folks have some. I think what was really interesting about that time is that Amar and I met in the December of 2014. We launched OTV February of 2015. Yeah. So there was a lot of trust that was built in the couple of months, and there was a lot of alignment, a lot of solidarity. And it was something that for us, I think when we were in that space at that time, we didn't feel isolated because we had each other. And, 10 years later, it's become so much more than we could ever imagine.
I also want to say that at the time, the thing that was really in the air was that that we didn't exist. That like there weren't enough. No one could find anyone of color to do anything. No one could find anyone who could speak Spanish to do anything. And I'm just like, who are you? I don't.
Right.
It was confusing and it was infuriating. And I think that was part of the impetus. And also because I was on this sort of exec side at the time, I didn't know other execs of color. And when I started meeting them, I was just like, why don't we already know each other? We were just realizing that there were these like dividing lines and these things there. But for me, like the superpower thing I really appreciate, I feel like getting people together. I think we're both kind of like party starters, getting people together, just wanting to hang out. Like I'm an all day hang. I think that's why we love like film festivals. We're all day hang kind of people.
Right. That's the first thing you said to me when I landed. You're like, you want to come over and hang? I was like, girl, wait, are we working?
No, we're getting in the hot tub and we're going to have dinner, and I think that's community organizing in the way that I do it, just getting people together and just being like, how are you? And really, and I needed that. I wasn't getting that in the other world that I was in. So once the hook was in, it was like no stopping, and it just blew up from there.
Amazing. What I'm hearing from both of you, not only that this all came together really quickly, almost as quickly as the Solidarity House itself.
There's a trend.
Yes.
Yeah, because Brown Girls was overnight too. Mm-hmm. Ours was like, I met a bunch of folks. Let's go have dinner. Let's go have a drink right now.
Yep.
Picture on Facebook the next day. Over 50 members.
Well, that's organizing, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Coming from, a sense of possibility. And also there was no permission seeking. There was no oh, I wonder, who will let me do this? It was just, here's this opportunity. Let's go. Let's work together. I love it. We'll come back to that too. The last decade, we've seen a lot of changes in the media ecosystem, and we've also seen some constants. As you reflect on the last decade and the path that your organizations have taken, what are some challenges, some dynamics that you've navigated, a learning that has led you to adapt your methodology and that has ultimately placed the work on more solid footing?
Yeah, I love this question because, well, if you know me, if you ever worked with me, like care is a big part of my practice, and the possibility models that we create. And I think when we actually spun out into a nonprofit in 2018, MacArthur was one of our first supporters, and I remember sitting down with Jen Humke and at the time over at CERDNA, Javier Torres, and I was like, I'm not going to design the organization that you think it's going to be, right? Like, we have to think about all of the ways in which the media ecosystem has extracted from the communities that OTV supports. And so it can't just be run of the mill, here's our one sheet, this is how we're going to, deliver our mission. It has to be a living and breathing experience for anyone that's entering the space. And everyone was like, yeah, cool, but how are you going to do that? And I was like, we're going to actually design from the inside out and really look at, if we want to transform the industry, that means inside, the people that work here have to be taken care of, because they're going to go out into the world and try to deliver all of that type of care to these artists. And they were like, well, isn't everyone doing that? And I was like, I think everyone's saying that they're doing that, but in practice, it's going to be expensive, right? It's going to take a lot of resources. And so for us, I believe that care became a part of our infrastructure and the way we design our benefits and the way we design the approach to the work. That part became so critical because when the people on our team were actually doing the artist development, the artists could feel not just cared for, they can feel that the people inside were alive. And they loved being there, and they loved actually being a part of this ecosystem. And for me, that is actually the biggest accomplishment, is that people are actually in a working environment that they know has perpetuated so much harm, and they're actively working against it by just showing up every single day to provide care to the artists that we support, the communities that we are a part of. And I think, we worked on a project. It was our first project. Working. I know it is. See, everything's living, right? Living. You're like, hey, you can't get rid of me. Yeah, called Pause and Play. And it was, yeah. Oh, it's another one. Oh, we do have another one right there. Right. But that one, what I loved about that project, it was exactly that. It was like talking about how inside of our organizations we have to actually pause and really take care of each other before we get out into the world and just execute and provide all the resources and make the grants and, amplify the artists. And that, to me, is what makes the work so much more smoother, because our artists can feel it. They can truly feel that we are present and that we actually have the time and capacity to hold for them. And then when we don't, we can actually say it. And that's been like such a beautiful opportunity to build with, Brown Girls Doc Mafia over the past couple of years. And I've learned so much from how y'all are approaching that work as well.
Same, completely same. I learned so much from you guys. Yeah, it's the care and the joy, the joy part. And that part comes easy because it's community and we really like each other, and because we have found a similar spirit in each other, and that part comes easy. But I think in terms of methodology, like for us, I came from, like I said, sort of white-led organizations working in industry side, and I kept finding my way into rooms and being the only one. And so it was the actual literal, like, holding the door open, like sneaking people in kind of thing for the first couple of years, and getting invited to something and saying, hey, can I bring 20 friends? In complete genuineness, like, I'm going to send you a list of 20 to 30, maybe 50 people. Right. that I want you to include on your invite list. And that really happened. Like people were they were like, okay, because it was out of that crucial moment where the turning point was just starting to happen, where that part of the industry was feeling like they, whatever they were feeling, they were letting us in. And so that was like what really like a kick in the door methodology that I really am proud of that we did even here at Sundance. And I think that kind of opening the doors and doing the introductions, like sharing the knowledge, because we started on Facebook when Facebook was good back in the day, and it was a private group, and so people were just telling the truth to each other about everything. Like, don't talk to them, they're a jerk. Do this, do that, don't do that. Don't listen to them, you're amazing. It was just like affirmations and, helping each other out. And it was just constant because people were just like really, really on Facebook, like back in the day, So it was jillions of comments at all times. Like we're working on a book now, and we can't even go through all of the old comments because there's so dang many of them. And it was so beautiful to have this constant like influx of mutual support. And that remains like such a huge pillar in terms of methodology for us, our community being like radically transparent with each other and going out of your way to offer support or to say, here's what I did, here's my budget, here's this phone number for that person. Like the gatekeeping was just not there at all. And that was the solidarity stuff, started so early, the competition stuff that we talk about now. It was just out the door so easily. It wasn't even a question. And I'm just so grateful everyone trusted each other like that.
There weren't like rules either. I think that time, like Amar and I were reflecting on it, like especially like 2015 to like 2018. Like I don't want to like glorify. I'm not a nostalgic hun. I'm just not. I'm like, girl, it was a struggle, okay? Like, girl, and we were talking about it. We looked a mess doing this work. We have the jams and jellies now, that are keeping us right and tight. But I think like during that time, things were simple because we didn't have actually any systems and structures to like enforce fear that we were doing it wrong. I think we were just trying to find solutions by any means necessary. And like there was a magic in that time that it's not so much miss, but I think like I hold dear to my heart because now, anything that happens at OTV, it's like there's all these systems and things that we have to like, and protocols and things that we've developed to keep it contained because we don't want to, abuse the power that we've cultivated, and we don't want to create the systems that have perpetuated the harm. But like, oh my goodness, like I think about all the times that we would like be at screenings and someone would be like, I need a producer. I'd be like, here's your producer. You just go work with him right now. And they would be like, okay, cool, fine. It's like that wouldn't happen now because you would have a series of questions that you would want. But I think at that time, there was, and Mara and I were reflecting on it, there was a different way that we cultivated trust. And a lot of that trust had to do around proximity. And that proximity was so, it wasn't tangible. It was like, oh, I see you in the world. I understand your values. And I don't need a long list of vetting to ensure that you're aligned with me because you're here with me in the work right now. And that, I think, has strayed a little bit because of obviously the industry and how it has changed.
Wow. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that. Hearing you speak about the process and how everything came together, it's making me so grateful that I think you both have books chronicling or forthcoming, telling the kind of the story of the creation of these wonderful organizations. And I'm also struck that both OTV and BGDM were enabled a lot by tech, but we're also really, from the very beginning, also about sharing physical space and that kind of very original sense of community. So you've really moved seamlessly between the two in the cultivation of these communities and networks, which is very striking. We should say, just for anyone who doesn't know, Brown Girls Doc Mafia, as the name might suggest, a network of, I believe it's almost 5,000, a global community, 5,000 women and non-binary workers of color in the documentary field who really work together to uplift one another, create opportunity and visibility, as you were mentioning. And of course, Open Television, the first intersectional platform for original series created by people who have for generations not had the resources to tell their stories. And these two interventions are, what's also strikes me is that they were both intentionally created as intersectional and as multiracial networks. Can you speak about how that approach has deepened your understanding of solidarity?
Well, for us, the first group from like in terms of the day that it started, it was a group of Black women, right? And then I put it on Facebook, and two of my South Asian sisters were like, "Oh, we want to do a Desi Girls doc Mafia," and I was like, "Oh, let's just do it together." And it became Brown Girls. And immediately, first of all, the first 50 members were all South Asian. I was like, I didn't even know there were this many South Asian women working in documentary. I was like, yo, what's up? And what's cool is like, everyone's working. We're working intersectionally too. They're not only making movies about their own cultures. Right. And it even just like seeing like with Poe and American Doctor last night, like it's so powerful to hear Poe, be able to speak so precisely about this culture and with pronouncing everyone's names correctly, I mean, that is powerful. And, it's like say her name kind of stuff. I remember at, was it 2018 or 2016, Getting Real, they allowed me to get up and say some things. And all I did was read a list of all of our members that were there and just said their names. I did not pronounce everyone's names correctly. I will say that. But just the fact that because I love credits, you're reading the credits on a movie, our names, you know what I mean? Like, we don't get to see our names like that on the big screen in the places that are so meaningful to us in movies. So it's just, I don't know, that the solidarity, the representation, the visibility, and we're so much more powerful together than separate anyways. So that's where it started for me.
Yeah. I have so many questions. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I want to like literally just talk to you about so many things. But for us, yes, intersectionality was always, I think, a part of our mandate. I think a lot of it had to do, this thinking about this is so LOL, because now that we have the streaming platform and all these different things and the apps and so fancy and nice and cool, like we were streaming on Vimeo. You know what I mean? We were like embedding the videos and we're like, we have a platform and it's like literally on Vimeo. We were sending like exclusive links. You know what I mean? Like we launched Brown Girls literally on Vimeo. It wasn't like this fancy thing. And so it's just so funny like to think about that in hindsight. But you should absolutely download the OTV app that is available exclusively on Apple, Android, Roku, and Amazon Fire. I think for us, when we were surveying the land in terms of like what was emerging, we had so many very like identity specific platforms that existed. We had Black and Sexy TV, we had Slay TV, we had Out TV, we had all of these like very narrow but very specific niche markets, which I think absolutely must exist in their own right. Unfortunately, every single one that I just mentioned no longer exists, which that should tell you a lot about our current ecosystem. And for us, it was like, we don't want to force the artists that we work with to have to choose which identity they need to platform to get inside of the OTV multiverse. And so it was always going to be a queer, a Black, a femme, a disabled, an immigrant. Like it was always going to be all of those things. And we weren't going to choose which one had priority. And for us, that I think just kind of universally became like the mission, right? Because it was at that time we had a lot of emerging artists that were coming up in the Chicago scene. I'm thinking about Sam Bailey, I'm thinking about Zachary Drucker, I'm thinking about Dwayne Perkins, Kara Jones, like all of these artists who also had all of these like multitudes and were using those identities to have really beautiful, nuanced conversations with the world around how like you don't have to choose. You can be all of these things at once. And for us, I think as we expanded globally, that's when we were like, oh, we are like so in over our heads, right? Like we're an all black led team, all black queer, mostly gender expansive. We don't know everything about intersectionality. And so we've never been in this work to get it perfect. We've been in it to learn. And so the way that we approach intersectionality is not like, this is what intersectionality is. We're more so from the perspective of, what are the ways in which this platform can unlock learning and unlock opportunities for people to see themselves and learn about other different parts of the world? And hopefully, if we get it right, like maybe change, evolve, expand, imagine a new world where like they can sit in lockstep, walking hand in hand with people that look completely different than them, that have completely different experiences. And so I love that we're an intersectional platform. I think that it's challenging sometimes for people because they're like, but like, isn't that everyone? And I'm like, oh no. No, that's not how it works. But it is a beautiful, beautiful learning experience for the people that we do get to work with.
Thank you so much. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the media field is facing a lot of resource-related headwinds at the moment, from federal defunding of public media to escalating corporate consolidation. BGDM and OTV have always been grassroots organizations operating in that mode. So what can you share about that approach for other organizations that are facing the destabilization of the current moment?
I mean, I have
Take as long as you
yeah,
need.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, so I'm gonna gather them. I think a lot about actually what one of my comrade and homies, Trevor, said earlier today on the opening panel, which is around solidarity and how solidarity is actively challenging, right? It's about constantly choosing that you want to belong to one another. And that work is hard. And for OTV, I think as we've grown over the last decade, I think that it's so interesting because when people see like 10 years, they're like, wow. And I'm like, girl, no. Like that is, I mean, yes, it's amazing. It's a lot of, it's a lot to be proud of. But also, there's so many bumps and bruises along the way, and so much of your identity gets caught up in this. And I think what I have done a lot of work internally for myself is like trying to just like separate my humanity from this organization that is not a living human being, right? It is an entity. I am real. Like I am of flesh and bone and water and all of these beautiful things that are complex. That is something that delivers a mission into the world. And so when I think about the organizations right now, there are many things, but I will keep it tight and right for this conversation. When I think about solidarity, I'm thinking a lot about how I never want to be alone again, right? And so I don't ever want OTV to ever do anything alone. And so that's why I think we always are in partnership and we belong to so many coalitions. And that's what fuels us in this work. And so when I'm thinking about other organizations who are facing this moment, I, I was talking to Makai about this in 2015 when Issa Rae had that statement around networking across. I'm thinking about that around like building bridges, right? Who is near you that you are working with that you want to make sure that they understand how you're approaching the work so that they understand how to integrate your work into theirs. That to me is our future of this ecosystem. It's not empires, it's not conglomerates, it's not these mega institutions. It's literally us, literally every couple of months just hopping on the call to be like, hey girl, what is going on in this world? And then finding ways through that to build programs, to come up with innovative solutions, to dream up solidarity houses. That to me is the future. It isn't this, I'm the only one that has all the answers that can solve this crisis. And so you must give me millions of dollars and then I will call my friends to disperse that. I don't believe in that way anymore. I never did, but I definitely don't now.
Yeah, we know how to do this. Like we know how to do the old way. And there was like you said, there were bumps in the road and things. We got taken on a new path of opportunity that we all wanted to, try to seize the moment in the time that we had. And if it feels like things are, on the other side, you're like, where is it? It's drying up. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You got to remember, we already did this.
Right.
And we've been doing this for a long time. Firelight turned 25 this year, right? I mean, they've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And we're not alone.
We're not alone.
We have so many incredible mentors and aunties and uncles who have been working their buns off to open doors for us so that we can even think about doing what we did. You know what I mean? Like to even have the imagination and the bandwidth and the capacity to dream, about something. And what I mean is like the grassroots part is that we already know how to do this. And by the way, we're all incredibly talented and well equipped to do the thing. What thing we want to do is make movies, right? We know how to make movies.
Right.
Just go make a movie. You know what I mean? I know it's not that easy, but we know how to do this. We know how to do it without all the bells and whistles. And we know how to do it well because we have stories. And guess what? Like the technology and the access to that is there for us. So the point is that we have each other and all we got to do is pick up the phone. And that's the hard part too, because the tech is keeping us from picking up the damn phone in terms of making a phone call and asking for help. It's getting in the way now. But I think that like there's also got to be a value shift, which we've been talking about for a long time, about when you make your movie, what do you really want out of it and why? Why are we seeking the certain things that we're seeking, that we've been told that we should be seeking for the last couple of years, Why? And what is the real need that you have for your body and your family and your life and your creativity? And how can we answer that within the gifts that we have?
Right.
Without having to overextend constantly and be dismissed and devalued, and be putting on delays and delay because we're waiting. We don't need to do that shit anymore. We just really don't need to. So, I think the other thing, capitalism, right? It's a problem.
She must enter into the room sometime, I guess.
Yeah, it's a problem. Obviously, it's a problem. I did Brown Girls for 4 years for $0. So if you're in the beginning of doing something or wherever you are at, if you're in the middle and it's feeling scary, if it's important to you, if you have the capacity, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And keep asking and keep talking about it and put the energy out there, the positive energy, because the more you put it out, it's going to keep coming back.
I still have my pay stub from OTV. It was a $500 pay stub for 3 months of work, right? And not to say that is something that we should glorify and actually, move across the system. But I think you're illustrating. It's about how committed I was to ensuring that we got this off the ground, and again, by any means necessary.
What I'm hearing you say too is that this moment calls for trusting ourselves, trusting one another. And I think that's beautifully on display here at the Solidarity House. All the partners, the ecosystem of organizations working together, many, many of them in this room. And if there's any funders in the room as well, I think this is a real opportunity for funders to also align, coordinate, talk together, think about how we can really, especially in this moment, uplift the work and make it so that this work can continue in all of the ways that we know it can, with a little bit of our own trust and our own coordination. So really appreciate that.
Shout out to you for bringing that around. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just shout out to you for being you as Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
That's very kind.
Shout out to you for you being you as Lauren at MacArthur. Shout out to John as being John, and John being John at Ford. Shout out to Perspective, to Andrew Cataro, to Danae. Y'all been holding everybody up.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Truly.
And it's you found us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, truly.
You were doing the work. So we appreciate you.
That's very kind. Thank you. I think, there's more to do. And we're very, very grateful to have this this moment of power. Felipe Estefan's in the house. He called it borrowed power. So we want to keep that in mind and do what we can. So thank you for that. Very, very kind. Alrighty. So for those of you that have been hanging out here, you know that at the Solidarity House, the mode of networking is to provide an ask and to provide an offer for every new person you meet. We're here to deepen our shared commitments. So in that very spirit, live on stage, what is one ask or even a question that you'd like to pose to everyone here present, and one offer that you'd like to make on behalf of your organizations?
Well, I don't think we may or may not have solved this already. I don't think we have. But anyone who's like in the family, who, being everyone in this room, you're all in the family, who really wants to help us put our solidarity collaboration into action in terms of the practical behind the scenes admin of like, okay, I'm going to tie you to here. You do this, you do this. You like, who's doing what? How can we work together on this? How can we work together on this? Like the practical, the operational implementation of building genuine, like infrastructural, if that's a word, solidarity amongst our organizations. Because it's in our hearts and our souls. For me, yeah, I want to see it like on a humongous like bulletin board where like, okay, we're doing that like magical tying together thing. So I need my data nerds. I need my spreadsheet people. Come to the front, please. Thank you.
I love this question, and I'm so happy that we have this in this space. It's so beautiful to see it out loud. I think my question is like to the space, and especially like anyone leading an organization through this current climate and the climates that we will inevitably, endure after, is really leaning into what our world can look like if we replace scarcity with this abundant imagination that like Ruha talks about, or, using the ways in which imagination and possibility models become frameworks for us to live within. What does that look like for you in your daily practice as a leader? Because the people that you work with, the artists that you support, like it all just literally like becomes a system. And I've seen it so many times just get broken in the machine, where it's like at the leadership level, there's just such a lack of imagination of how we can do these things. And then it just literally trickles down. And so I really want to invite and offer the leaders in the room to just really think about like, what new thing do I want to try? What new benefit, service, offering, grant, how do I want to get around the system of the 2,000 word character limit? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And how can you do it in real practice? And I'm down to like, if you know me, there's the Executive Divas Club. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I'm always down for that. And then I think an offering is on the actual other side of that is like OTV has just over the last year experimented with so many different types of ways of doing this work that keep us compliant as a nonprofit, right? But also like get the money out the door to the artist. And like that's what we said we wanted to do. And so how do we do that efficiently? How do we do it at the scale that meets the moment? And how do we do it where we're like taking care of each other in the process and also sharing that knowledge? And so if you're ever just like, I'm stuck or I need a fellow executive diva to just like, I'm such a hype girl, I'm so down to do that work because unfortunately I didn't have it for myself. And it is such a privilege and an honor to be able to do it now. And so anyone out there, the Executive Diva Club is open for you.
In terms of offering, of course, if anyone doesn't know how to find a person of color to do anything, or someone who speaks Spanish or whatever, obviously, please go to browngirlstalkmafia.com. Stop, get your head out of your you-know-what, and start looking for people to hire for your crew or for your executive office. And I feel like in alignment with these bumps in the road, there are things that have had to happen, professionalizing, adulting, shrinking. To be honest, some shrinking and some things to like Titan, la la la. I want to make some trouble again. We used to be big troublemakers in Brown Girls.
Oh, it was so much more
It was
fun.
so much fun to be troublemakers. So let's do it. If anybody wants to make some trouble, or if you're like, I need help, I can't figure out how to get this or that,
We got some trouble
come
in the
talk
house.
to me.
Okay,
Come talk to
got it.
Livy, Danae, Kitty, Edwin. We're gonna let's just brainstorm on making some trouble again. I think it's time.
I think it is absolutely time.
Wow.
Speaking of, we have drinks.
Yes.
Please
Oh,
take
yes.
it. We're gonna do a
Yes.
toast. Speaking of trouble, take a toast. Oh, thank you.
But yes, as we get this organized, and thank you so much. I have one more question. We want to make sure that people are. Do we have time for questions
Yeah,
from the audience?
absolutely.
Wonderful.
We're gonna,
Thank you. We're toasting. I want to get back in our imaginary time machine.
Ooh, yes.
We're
this is my
going 10
favorite topic.
years into the future. It is 2036. We are celebrating 20 years of BGDM and OTV. What has changed? Where are we? Talk about our abundant future and what did it take to get there? You've spoken a lot about this already. But
Private island. Just kidding. Not kidding.
Brown Girls Dark Mafia Private Island. Yes. Thank you so much, my dear. Yeah. Okay. Well. Oh. Okay. It's gonna be a twofer, but it'll be tight and right. I promise. On the right side for me, it would be like OTV doesn't exist because we did what we were supposed to do, right? I think that's the plan. Is like I don't work here anymore because this doesn't need to happen, right? People just believe that intersectional stories should exist, and creators have all the tools and the resources they need to make those projects work.
Same, and everyone feels really confident.
Yes. Oh my God. And they have so much relationships.
And it's like, no, there's nothing awkward.
Exactly.
And so easy. And you can just be an amazing, talented person and you get recognized for it and
Absolutely.
you get opportunities and
And
you're
affirmed.
being paid.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be on if that was the journey that we took off into the world today. Does that feel good?
love it.
Okay. Yeah. I love it.
And you still look fabulous, you know? You have the right
Haven't aged a
outfits.
day.
Not an age
Right.
yet.
Have
Yeah.
it.
I wonder if anyone has their thoughts on what it would take to get there. Maybe that's a nice thing we can open up, or if you have questions or want to add anything to this moment, please.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your work. And, I've just been talking with a few creators the last 48 hours already. Just been really special. But I think something we were all kind of talking about, and just to your question, is about, a lot of these individual movements and, we're trying to find more collaboration, right? And I think that a lot of folks and creators come from these individualist mindsets and trying to get theirs before, other people get theirs. And I think that, spaces like this, spaces like Solidarity House, I think have been really special in terms of championing exactly what we were kind of expressing. But we wish there was more community of folks just trying to adamantly, organically work together. So I'd love, if you guys have recommendations or methods of how we can continue to really champion that community, like outside of when we're in spaces like this where we can collaborate, but when we're back in the world, how you can try and inspire others to champion working together, like you guys were talking about in that dream world.
I'm all about friendship. I always feel really naive saying this, but we do these 10, 12, 14-hour days on shoots, right? You're spending hours and hours in the editing suites, right? You're traveling together, hopefully, on your festival, etc. I think it's about just organically going with the people that you connect with and just being open to connection and following up and checking in and picking up the phone. Again, we can't let the tech actually keep us from connecting with each other, but use it to be in connection and build that organic relationship, because it'll just keep growing and proliferating in other ways. And that I think that needs to be an intersectional and multiracial friendship, including our white allies, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add there is just like being less committed to like a particular destination in that friendship. I think that like when we build partnerships in OTV, we like I want to know what gets you. That's the first thing I ask. Like, what gets you out of bed? It can't be this work, right? Like, what is it? It's got to be something else beyond here that I can feel tethered to. And so getting comfortable with that, like kind of gray area of like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? And just really leaning into that, I think, is how we actually, I was thinking about it and reflecting, like, we had that dinner and then we just kept coming back to each other, right? Before it took us maybe a year or two before we really made something. And I think that practice is really beautiful because you get to know so much more. Yeah. So that would be my offering.
It's gonna be mics.
All the mics.
I'm going to make sure I'm heard, I think my question is, how have you all sustained yourself, and how do you continue to sort of pour back into yourself, and what feeds you all in this work?
You're not talking about money, right?
I mean, it can. But no, I mean like your spirit.
Spirit, yeah. I think I said it already. I'm the care girly. It's me. I really have a deep like practice that I've cultivated over the last several years, mostly because this industry has like spun me out sideways for so many different types of choices that I have made about the pursuit of building this. And I think what has been one of the most beautiful practices is coming back into my body and realizing that I am a human and that like I'm actually not my labor. I'm not whatever success this platform becomes. I'm a human being and I am not indestructible. I'm actually deeply vulnerable, and this work will take so much from you. And whether that be a yoga practice or meditating or literally picking up the phone to be like, I'm crashing out. Right? Like, are you too? Okay, great. So what should we do? Right? Like that's a lot of what's been keeping me together. And what I'll say in closing is like, as a leader in these organizations, there's, I actually learned this from one of the convenings you hosted from a good fellow executive diva, who told me about it's one thing to be, vulnerable, and it's one thing to be transparent. I think leaders get it real good on the transparent side, where it's like, I can tell you the truth, right? But the vulnerability piece is really hard because it means that you have to admit that you don't have the answer and you don't know actually where to find it. And that piece has been so big in cultivating a care practice, because then I can reach out to people and be like, I don't know, sis. Do you know? You don't know either? Okay, well, wait, does anyone else out there know? What's your care practice?
I'm so bad at this, but I think I really like hugging. I'm a good hugger, and I think like being in person with people. Thank you. Being in person, and then like, vulnerability. That's the thing. In person, just really connecting with that physical thing, but also like during the pandemic when we had to be online, it was so beautiful that like I remember still like it was still organic for us to come together online, and we were just like crying on the computers with each other, and that intimacy still through the screen really has sustained me over time. And I would also say like asking for help and trying to be good about being honest about where you are. I'm totally not good at that all the time. And I'm really grateful to Nivi, my co-ED, my partner, and to the whole BGDM team for picking me up. Don't cry, Nivi's crying. Picking up the pieces, because I'm human and I've broken down a lot in the last few years, and y'all have been holding me down, and picking up the pieces and seeing the vision and doing the work, so asking for help and just being honest with yourself and with others.
First of all, congratulations. So going off of what both of you said, that reminder that we are all humans, but we are also collectively experiencing trauma as a community, as a country, as a global union. Yes. So recognizing that self-care is number one when it comes to our artistry, but our visionaries, right? We have to see each other. We have to be talking to each other. Just like you said, there is that gray, we find our allies. You lean into your allies. But at the core, you take care of you in this space and in this practice. So with that, what can we look forward to in terms of finding that unity of not seeing each other as competitors, but as human beings and building and creating for the generations after us?
I mean, I think it's been said, honestly, I think it's been said about the connecting with each other, taking care of yourself. And I just really want to go back to, I want us all to be paid. Don't kill me, everyone at Brown Girls. I want us all to be paid. I want equity. I want money to be flowing to us. But I also think we should just make some shit together and not worry so much about, I think at least maybe we can just make a club between us, and then, hey, you come shoot on this, and hey, you come do sound, and let's just make movies together and do it in a way that feels good creatively and feels good holistically, because that's what we really want to do, right? So I don't know.
I definitely agree with that. I think like the thing that I am coming back to is, no, I will not be crying. No. Yes, I'm.
I cry.
No.
Also
it's
cry.
Just, I'm like an ugly crier.
Crying
like
is the thing.
Yeah, it is. I know.
I haven't cried enough, honestly. I should have cried more these last 10 years.
It's just like I have a lot more to do.
Don't hold it in.
No, I'm not holding it. I'm just
Not you.
moving through it.
Everyone else.
Everyone's like, cry.
Don't
cry,
hold
cry.
it in. This is the new chapter. The next 10 years of me is crying,
It's just
letting it out.
That's what you
Process,
can expect in this practice.
Process.
Oh, man. Okay. So what's coming up for me is like, I didn't realize that turning 10 came with so much responsibility, and it's such a privilege to be here and be 10 and still existing when I just witnessed so many of my peers, so many of my colleagues, my comrades, like not be able to make it this far. And so I bring all of them with me into this room in this space, and like that shit's fucking hard. Like it's so hard to do that and still be a principled organization that like wants true change in this world. And I also think about all of just the sacrifices I've made, like my youth, that went into this. And I'm honored that I've been able to do that. And so when I hear your question, I think what's coming up for me is like, how can we be each other's balm? Right? Like, what does that really look like to just really soften into the idea that like, yes, we can make things, but also we can just be together. That part to me is actually the hard work. Like, I think we're actually really good at organizing a solidarity. I think that like we can do that. Like we know how to do that. But like, do I know how to just sit with you and talk about your kids and your mama and your cousin and all the other things? Like that part actually is the challenging piece that I believe makes all of the organizing so much more smooth once you've done it. And so I know it's a little woo-woo, but like that's just where I am, and that's how I'm approaching the work, because I know how to be the executive diva. That one's easy, right? But being like soft and like, malleable, that part is it takes work and it takes effort. And so spaces like this where we can be vulnerable and be in the practice of being vulnerable is something I'm very grateful for.
But I'll also say we're both in a new chapter of shared leadership.
Yes, shared leadership.
Yeah, shared
Come
leadership.
on, growth.
And and that's super important. And I think that like, this isn't happening for us right now. And I think it should have happened from the beginning and maybe will happen in the future. But I think crystallizing the vision and then finding ways for it to take turns so that you can, and finding within that a financial model.
Come on, talk
a non-traditional financial model we can make up for ourselves about how to take care of yourself, because you're about to, hopefully, gonna go on sabbatical.
Wasn't supposed to be public knowledge.
Sorry.
Yes, that's fine.
Stays in the room.
Yes.
Stays in the room.
Space.
Mountain of silence. But like, we need time. We need time because we're, like Lauren said, we're both artists, and I haven't made a film in a couple of years. I'm working on a film right now, but I haven't made a film in a couple of years. And that's the sacrifices that we're talking about.
Right.
And you're much younger than me. I don't have that much time left. You know what I'm saying?
Stop.
So thinking about shared leadership, but like a vision that you can feel really strong in, that can survive generations of leadership, and thinking about maintaining sustainability within your crew over time, so that we're not in this effing 9-to-5 kind of machine, so that we can survive and still contribute and be flexible in the ways that we're working and creating together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for the question. As we seamlessly transition into our toast and then into, I believe we're going to dance, right?
Oh, yes. We have actually, in talking about shared leadership, our incoming co-director of OTV, Micaiah Green, is going to be leading some DJing this evening.
Amazing. So I want to take this moment now to thank you all for joining this session at the Solidarity House and just express huge thanks to the coalition of over 50 movement builders, over 50 within and surrounding the independent film community. We invite you to hold close a reminder that solidarity across infrastructure means recognizing that our organizations are stronger when we share knowledge, pool resources, and coordinate strategy across the ecosystem. As we're here dancing, maybe right after the dancing, introduce yourself to 2 new people, make an ask, make an offer, and continue to build together. Yes, absolutely. Check out the schedule of the remaining events, please, using the QR codes you'll find around the room. Let's stay connected and continue to build. And now offer a toast to community. Community.